JP Morgan is going all in on blockchain, they're claiming. They are starting to do settlements with other firms now in using blockchain technology that they've been developing for the last few years. So we have a tweet here from Blockworks, which is a quote from Bloomberg saying, breaking, JP Morgan starts to use blockchain for collateral settlements in trading and lending. So they've been working on this for a longer period of time now. It's finally come to fruition. And we have their global head of trading services, Ben Chalice, who said, what we've achieved is the frictionless transfer of collateral assets on an instantaneous basis. While BlackRock wasn't necessarily a counterparty, they have been heavily involved since day one and are exploring use of this technology. So this is something that they have been working in lockstep with JP Morgan and BlackRock on for a number of years now. I believe since 2019, 2020, something around there. So call it 12, 24 plus months. And it's finally come out now where they're starting to use it actually in trading and lending. And it's basically just a risk-free instantaneous settlement procedure or protocol now that they're going to be using for trading services. So I think there's a few things here, right? Going all in on blockchain is certainly commendable to some degree, but I also think you need to separate. This isn't Bitcoin, right? They're not buying Bitcoin. They're not holding Bitcoin. They're not necessarily doing anything with Bitcoin. What they're doing is they've created this protocol now where they're able to do instantaneous settlement instead of T+3 or T+2 or T+1. They can do it instantaneously for free, that transfer of assets with other counterparties. It's kind of shocking. I mean, there's a lot of nuance behind the actual settlement system, but I would argue also kind of the contrarian view of this is like blockchains can be helpful in some of these instances, but you don't always need a blockchain to do some of these things, right? Like you can build computer systems and programs that are probably pretty close to what you can do with the blockchain without adding a lot of the complexity that it might be added because of that. So I don't necessarily know the nuance behind exactly how they're doing the settlement process, but if you think about it in the easiest way, which is the settlement might take T+3, which is 3 days, or T+2, 2 days, or 1. Now they're able to do it free instantaneously with another counterparty, risk-free. So that's obviously valuable. The question would be like, would they be able to do that without the blockchain? I don't know, right? This may be just another service that they're trying to offer to clients or ease the transaction costs between their counterparties, which is great. But I think the two need to be separated where this isn't necessarily something that is advantageous to Bitcoin or so forth. We've been very clear, and I think Jamie Dimon has been very clear about their stance on some of these assets, that if clients want all of these things and they're asking for these things, they would obviously offer them to their high net worth clients, but he personally doesn't own any. He personally does not see the value in it, et cetera. So we'll see how that evolves over time, but it's probably a good step regardless that they're at least testing some of these things and seeing how they can implement them in their businesses to improve their procedures and protocols and infrastructure. Because I do think that there's probably some value that they can extract from these things, but it's to be determined at what level they actually do that.
Yeah, their first transaction was on May 20th, so a week ago today, right? And two entities transacted basically a token that represented shares of their BlackRock money market fund, right? So they were able to kind of move it across the chain very easily. It's cool that they're getting into the technology. Jamie Dimon has clearly made a stance that he does not believe in Bitcoin. So I think it's very, very important to separate. They're looking at blockchain technologies. They are not, from what this is saying, they are not looking at Bitcoin, they're using blockchain, right? And it's important to separate those two things. Look, if people are making money, the banks can use technology to get an advantage, they're going to do it. They're going to explore it, and they're going to spend money to kind of do the research and development of that product, right? We saw it with the, the fiber optic cable from Chicago to New York. They spent billions of dollars building one cable to get literally milliseconds faster on trading time and information. And that's really important. I think people have to understand that like these companies will spend millions and billions of dollars to develop technologies to give them an edge. And that's what I'm seeing that JP Morgan's doing here today.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you're going to try to find two counterparties that are the behemoths in these spaces, JP Morgan and BlackRock. So they're obviously testing new things. They have the capital to go do that from a research and development perspective to try to enhance some of the protocols within their business. They should do that. I think that's exactly what they're doing. I do think that the other side of this, though, is you can look at it a few different ways. Like some Bitcoin maxis will say this is blockchain, this isn't Bitcoin, which I just said, right? Which is the idea of like, don't get it confused. But at the same time, it legitimizes some of the use cases around Bitcoin and other things, right? Because now they're saying, oh, wait, this blockchain thing, like there's actually probably a pretty good use case for this that we can use in our everyday business. Step 2 of that is figuring out, like, how it impacts individuals, how they can use it for their clients, how everyday people can pay for things, how it, remittance payments, like, there's a million different things. But this opens that door now where they're legitimizing it to some step instead of just shutting it down and saying, no, this is useless, this is fools, fools are using this and so forth. So again, I think it's going to take time to figure out where that goes, but I don't see it as a negative.
It's a step in the right direction.
Maybe.
Maybe.